Can everybody hear me on my sock microphone? My incredible microphone with an expensive sock on it. Actually, it's one of the kids' socks. I don't think it was expensive because I wouldn't have bought an expensive one. Probably came in a bag from a charity. What do you do when you look outside and there's no gardening space? What do you do when you look online and everybody has so much more space than you? Do you cry? You shouldn't cry because it means you're weak. You have to be strong. You have to grow your broccoli, grow your leeks in whatever space you can find. Even if your garden is not as big as mine. Not as big as mine. Very dramatic. We like to start with incredibly dramatic songs. I like to do these songs so they kind of run through the part where, you know, the YouTube is jamming in commercials. So, hey, happy Friday. This is weird. It's better. It looks professional now. I'm glad you can hear me. So, good evening and welcome to new member Jennifer Hay. Jennifer Hay, that is a good gardening name. Jennifer's a good name, but Jennifer Hay? Good. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Jennifer. Thank you. Welcome. Glad you remember. I appreciate it. So, we're going to talk. I made some notes tonight. And you know, normally I do an incredible amount of research before I hit the go live button on YouTube. And this time is no exception, but it's exceptional beyond being not an exception. It's an exceptional exception. I have a whole bunch of notes. I made notes because this is a topic that comes up regularly. You know, it would be great if I had that much space. And I'll tell you, my first garden was in my parents' backyard. And I would say, well, I know my very first garden was an 8-foot by 8-foot space. When I was a kid, my dad cut a little space in the backyard for me, put some railroad ties around it, and I had a little garden, 8-foot by 8-foot. As I got a little older, he allowed me to expand, and I took that corner of the yard over bit by bit, planted all kinds of weird stuff. Some really invasive plants, too, that we had to fight to get rid of, but that's another story. But I would say that came out to be about a 20 by 25 space, probably at its biggest. So what is that? That's 500 square feet. And still not very big. So from there, I bought my first house. And that first house was in Hollywood, Florida. And it had a yard that was probably 0.2 acres or so. Something like that. It was a little house, little cute 1940s house. And, you know, the climate was really good. So I planted a bunch of little fruit trees back there. put some bananas in, put a little garden in, and then sold the house. This is what always happens to me. I always end up selling the houses that I've put all the work into. And I bought a little house in Tennessee. Now, the house in Tennessee had the biggest yard that I had ever had, biggest place for gardening. It was close to a half an acre. About somewhere between a third of an acre and a half an acre. That was in Smyrna, Tennessee. Smyrna is a garbage little town. I hate it. Terrible town. Some cool, cute buildings and stuff in there. Terrible leadership, terrible government. And they have just put in all of these trashy looking strip malls and garbage all through there. That town is just horrible. But I had a cute little house there. Now, what I didn't know was that the drainage ditch that went through the backyard would flood occasionally. And not only did it flood, it really flooded. Like the entire backyard was inundated in water and looked like a river. So I planted these beautiful gardens, deep layers of mulch and fruit trees and herbs and little beds and walkways and all kinds of stuff. And I worked on that thing. I lived there for 6 years. And I had a couple of floods. I had one flood that took away a big chunk of it. And then the city came and said, well, we're going to be expanding this channel. If you would just sign this and sign this and sign this. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So they expanded it, but they took a hunk of my yard and they didn't give me the money that they should have given me. And I got kind of put through the ringer by that crummy little city, the crummy little guys that work it. And they expanded the drainage ditch, but they took a hunk of my yard out and they put in this really ugly construction barrier stuff and they just left it that way. It was terrible looking. But anyhow, I gardened around that. Well, it turns out that they also widened some road or something in another spot and they ran more water into this ditch. So we get another flood after I've replanted the yard and everything after the construction. We get another flood and it blows through the backyard and it tears out, a few years worth of soil development. It spread my sweet potatoes all over the neighbors' yards and down the path, and it took away the bridge that I had built, tore that whole backyard to pieces. And at that point I said, I am done with this crummy town and this crummy house. I'm going back to Florida. So I listed the house for sale the next week. So moved to Florida. Now Florida, this was right after the big foreclosure crisis thing. Florida, I managed to get a house with an acre of land. This was North Florida though, so it's not as great as, if you have an acre down in South Florida, like Miami, you can grow massive amounts of food because of the tropical climate and the sheer variety of species you can grow. Now, North Florida is still pretty good, but it's not that great because it swings back and forth between being too hot and being too cold. So, the extremes for a year might be 105 in the summer with a 18-degree night in the winter. So that kills all of your papaya and things like that you can get really high tropical production out of. And it also means that you have a season in your garden where really the only thing you can grow are the brassicas and some onions and stuff like that. It's not easy to garden all the way through the winter there. Occasionally you get a winter where there's hardly any frosts, but then you'll get a winter the next year where it hits 12 degrees or something. So it's kind of touch and go there, and plus you get those late frosts in the spring sometimes that'll take your stuff out. So anyhow, I had an acre in North Florida, and that for me was like the hugest amount of space ever. So we lived and gardened there for some years, and then we moved down to the Caribbean. Now down in the Caribbean, I couldn't afford much, so I was on borrowed land for a while, but it was really hilly, a lot of clay in the ground. I fought with gardening there. I had like the neighbors' cows and goats would come through and eat stuff, and it was always a fight there. And then I finally got my own piece of land, and the goats weren't a problem there, but it was only half an acre. And then I gardened on it, and then it was really starting to get good, and then the corona comes, and now next thing we know, we're back in the United States because the whole island locked down and people just panicked and things got weird and the neighbors got weird, and it was obvious we were really not welcome. And they gave us a hard time with our visas and everything, and I was like, we're done, we're leaving. So now we're back in the States. And now I have this huge bit of space. And so I get some of these comments at this point like, whoa, that's a lot of space. If I had that kind of space, man, I could really do some stuff. And I know what you mean. It's a lot of space. And I'm really doing some stuff. But it's really a first-time thing. I've never really had much opportunity to do any kind of farming beyond the backyard scale, and sometimes in a mini backyard type of a scale, and sometimes just renting. You know, I was renting and growing on my patio. I had all my trees and stuff I was starting on my patio, and I was trying to farm a little quarter-acre lot that was all full of really thorny bushes, and it had really hard soil. And you've seen some videos from there probably too. Man, I've been all over the place. But over the years, I have learned how much you can do in just a little space. For a time, we were renting in a little town in Polk County, Florida, when I was really, really broke. I was renting a trailer. And alongside the driveway, I took some Rubbermaid bins and some pots that I scrounged together. And I grew some little gardens. And I grew some little gardens into the front landscaping. And I grew a little patch of cassava out back, right on the edge of some scrub land. And, you know, it's actually, necessity is the mother of invention. You know, there's a lot you can actually do with a little bit of space. So, all that to say, in today's stream, I'm going to share with you some of the ideas that I've had and maybe some tips and some encouragement for those of you that are dealing with itty bitty space. We don't always get to choose where we live or where we garden, but there's a lot that you can do even in a small space, and I've seen some really cool things. So, culture raising. Yeah, it sounds like my kind of garden. Culture raising says we pretty much just have paths to walk in our front yard. Yeah, that's how I had my food forest in my old place. So, hey Jason, nice to see you. Jason Evers sighting. Trying to breed a bacon tree. Good work. It's actually, you have to have you really have to have a dry climate for the bacon to mature in the tree. You don't want it to get soggy. It's got to dry, you know. So, all right. Let's jump into gardening in tiny spaces. I'm going to play some intro music. Here we go. Gardening in tiny spaces. Okay. I feel like we needed to do that before I got into this. All right. So, first of all, how can you grow in a tiny space? Well, it really depends on how tiny we're talking. If you are talking like a townhome with a little square garden patio, maybe you have a little bit of working space. Maybe you have some ornamental beds or something like that. In that case, you can actually build gardens. But in some cases, you're not allowed to grow there, or you're dealing with an apartment type situation, or you have just a little itty bitty spot or a little paved patio or something like that. So in that case, there's a lot that you could do with containers. You can use Rubbermaid bins. You can do the earth box thing. You can make your own earth boxes. You can get pots. I actually just got some great big pots, like 15-gallon pots for $5 a piece. Big nursery-style pots that I'm going to be growing some tropicals in. You can use barrels. Cut barrels up. You can use 5-gallon buckets if you want to. They don't look as pretty. Window boxes, hanging baskets. You can get like a really cool large pot. I was looking at these large pots today. It really depends on how much money you have to spend and, you know, what you want to do. But like a horse trough size, or one of those big, cool looking clay pots, those designery looking pots that rich people put out in front of their houses. I was looking at one of those today. It's like this big, beautiful pot. And I said to my daughter, I said, man, that would be fun to grow a little, like a miniature perennial garden in one of those big pots. Wouldn't that be pretty? And she's like, oh, that would be great. And I said, I wonder what they cost. So I look at the side of it, $88. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I need to take up pottery. But if you have a large pot or container, I've seen some. You can do this the pretty way, or you can do this the ugly way. Like, you can grow a ton in an old refrigerator. It's ugly as sin, but you can grow a ton in an old fridge. And it's possible that you could make it look good. Maybe you could paint the fridge, paint some stencils on it or something if you're creative enough. But most of the time it looks junky. But maybe it won't look junky if you do it. Maybe you could faux paint it like a big block of terracotta. Oh, my goodness. Did that big square planter come from Spain? Oh, well, it's actually an old refrigerator. But I'm an excellent painter and I'm super creative. Wow, that's amazing. Maybe you can get away with it, but generally when people have used fridges that I've seen, it looks terrible. But hey, it grows a lot of food. So, it depends. It depends on how junky you want to be. I love the way those big horse troughs look. Those big galvanized troughs. I've seen people make really nice gardens in those, but I was looking at the price of them. Like, these things are like $100. It's like $100 for one of those things or more. It's like, holy moly. I'd rather just dig in the ground if I could. But, if I could get one of those things, or an old bathtub or something like that, yes. I've gardened in an old bathtub. Looks good. The garden looks good. The bathtub looks kind of dumb. What might be kind of fun would be to have a mannequin in the bathtub. So like the chest of the mannequin is coming out of the soil level. Like he's just sitting there, and then there's soil in the rest of the bath, Or maybe that would just be like kind of creepy. So, you can use large pots or bins or whatever you can get to grow quite a bit. If you have a patio, you have the edges of a paved space, maybe an old shed slab, edges of a driveway. It doesn't really matter because you're going up, and you also get to control how rich the soil is right from the beginning, which is great. And one of the things I like to do to save money on that is just to go out to the woods and take a bunch of sticks and pieces of logs and pieces of rotten wood and fill the bottom of one of those bins or troughs or whatever up like 2/3 of the way with a bunch of rotten material from the woods. I could throw my compost in there, throw some old bones in there, throw paper shreds in there, throw fall leaves in there, whatever. And then the last little bit of it, top up with some good soil, some good purchased soil. Or you make your own potting mix, if you're feeling ambitious. That saves you a lot of money on potting mix because a great big bin gets super expensive to fill if you're going bag by bag. So, any of those bins are a good way to do it. And one thing that I found is because the pots dry out so quickly, if you can put a bunch of rotten material in the bottom of it, that'll help keep them from drying out as fast. But often they still dry out because what happens is the material starts to pull away from the edges. The potting soil starts to dry and it sticks together sometimes. It pulls away from the edges and you pour water on it and it just runs down the edges and it doesn't soak the middle material that's in the pot. So one way I've rehydrated them is to get those really inexpensive kiddie pools. And then you just stick the pots in the kiddie pool and you take the hose and you fill the kiddie pool up with a few inches of water. And the bottom of the pot is sitting in that water, and it will wick up inside of the pots, and it will start to soak that soil again. So that's one way you can do it. Now, you can also buy those little water crystal things, the moisture control crystals, and throw them into the potting soil. Some potting soil comes with them. They're kind of weird. They're like little, I don't know what they are. They're like some sort of weird acrylic gel. But now this is really okay. This is really weird. But if you can get diapers, buy like cheap diapers, and you rip the lining out of the inside of the diaper, and you take the inside absorbent part, you could throw some of those things down in the bottom of a pot, and they will become water repositories. I don't know if that's like even good for you or anything, but it totally works. I had a friend who, Leon, who told me that he dug some holes in his yard to plant some trees. And in one of them, he crammed an old phone book, got it soaking wet, crammed the phone book down in the bottom and put some dirt over it, planted the tree on top of that. And he said that tree grew way better and needed less water. So, if you can even find an old phone book, that'll work. If you got like old rags, like cotton rags, wet them and jam them in the middle of the pot, and they become a water repository. If you've got rotten wood, it's the same thing. It's just, you've got to think, okay, am I going to be watering these things enough when it gets to the heat of summer to keep the stuff from drying out? So often what I did was I just put the pots in trays. So the bottom of the tray that it was sitting in, I put some water in it. And that way the pot would just kind of wick the water up and the roots could find that water, but it wouldn't drown them. So that's some of the ideas for pots and things that you can grow in and how I like to do it, or how I've done it in the past. I'm not really doing much with pots right now, but I'm going to be again because there's some specimen trees that I'm going to be growing in my greenhouse, which is in progress right now. And I want to be able to move them into the greenhouse and then out of the greenhouse in the summer and keep them in pots like Jabuticaba. And I want to get a dwarf mango or keep a mango dwarfed. I was thinking of doing a Julie mango because Julie mangoes tend to stay smaller all on their own. But I want to put a key lime out there. I want to do some Suriname cherries. I've got a miracle fruit I need to pot up. Some things like that. And so I'm going to be using some of these tricks again because invariably when something is not in the ground and it's in a pot, eventually it's going to get dried out unless you're just paying attention to it every single day. And often, even though you're watering it, the water is getting away and it's not soaking the central ball and it's drying up in the middle. So, a couple of thoughts there. Now, let me see here if we have any questions or anything. Oh, hey, Rosehaven Farm, thank you very much for joining as a member. Much appreciated. Glad you're here. You've been around a long time. See if we've got any questions. Yeah, there you go. Raven Wolf says drill holes in the sides about 2 inches up and fill the bottom with gravel. Holds water better. Yep, that's one thing you can do. I did that with some 5-gallon buckets before. Drilled the holes about that far up on the 5-gallon buckets and did it. So let's see here. Crazy Family Homestead says, similar conversation with my daughter. Oh, wow, look at that pot. A lavender would look awesome in that. How much is it? $65. Moving on. Yeah, they're making some of those pots now. Raven Wolf mentions they have those large plastic bins. I've seen those ones that are made of some sort of like plasticky foam, but they look just like they're terracotta. It's cheating, but they're so much lighter. It's way easier. Oceanbound says, I love pottery, makes the garden pop with color. Yes, absolutely. They are beautiful. I mean, a good pot in the landscaping, like if you've got a little flower garden or something, you put a beautiful little pot in it, it really does look great. It's cool. I mean, I did go to art school. Confession time. So I actually can do things that are aesthetically pleasing. I just often sacrifice aesthetics to utility, and then, as the gardens grow, they kind of are forgiving. But old toilet bowls, I've seen that too. It's horrible. That's just horrible. The toilet tank isn't so bad. And somebody in the Ocala area has a toilet in their front yard with flowers planted in it. It's terrible. Oh my gosh. Go down here a little more. Miles of Totality says coconut husk and ground leaves keep stacked potted plants wet. Good. Arkansas Woodcutter says love the new ideas. You are very welcome. Anna says I have the mannequin, now I need a bathtub. I think it's hilarious. It's terrible. You can put a shower cap on their head. If somebody does it, send me pictures. I will make it the I'll make it the backdrop of my YouTube page. That would be hilarious. Scott says Ison's, which is a mail order nursery, packs their grapevines in diaper pellets. That's awesome. It works. It works. New or used? Alan says, I think it depends. That's nice. Kevin Eustace says, I always do the diaper trick for my hanging baskets. It's really cool. Kendra says, hello, David. Picked up a rooted Shangri-La mulberry seedling for free. Oh, that's awesome. Raven says, my videos have been art too. Well, thank you very much. I try. I have a painful, tortured life, and I have to express myself through my videos. It's terrible. All right, so... Chuck Manzi says, what's the furthest north you have ever heard of pomegranate being kept outside? I have heard that there are Russian varieties that grow in zone 6. You might be able to push the zone to zone 5 by sticking them on the back of the house. Monique says, the Free Plants for Everyone book is great. I was just reading and missed part of your live. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. There is a link below this video to all of my books on Amazon if anybody is interested in seeing my books. I'm a writer who ended up a YouTuber. It's just one of those things. I don't know what happened. Mama Lou Bear says, plant cauliflower in the bathtub, it will eventually look like bubbles. That's hilarious. Benjamin says, I got some ice cream bean pods and planted them, and they're doing pretty decent. Excellent. They actually grow pretty fast. I love those things. I would love to grow one of those again. Dang it. I had a bunch of them down in the tropics. I don't have any ice cream beans anymore, and I don't think they'll grow here. And it makes me so sad. I really wanted them. But, all right, I've got more ideas, so let's get back to it now that I've answered some questions here. So, what to grow? Your space is small. You have a tiny space. A little itty bitty space. What do you grow? So, tiny little space. You don't want to waste your tiny space, right? You don't want stuff that's not particularly productive. You don't want things that you don't eat that much. You know, my thinking on it is to plant the things that are high value or things that just aren't good from the store. So hot peppers, high value, you know, something you can use in the kitchen, something you might enjoy in salsa. You know, plant jalapenos, tomatoes. I mean, tomatoes, there's just nothing like a homegrown tomato. You definitely have to grow tomatoes if you have a small space. If you got enough sunlight, tomatoes are a no-brainer. And you can grow amazing tomatoes in pots. I'll get more on that in a minute. You can grow Everglades tomato in a hanging basket. That would be cool. Heck, I should do a couple of those on my front porch. I'm going to go buy some hanging baskets. Yes, I need to make a note. Hanging baskets, front porch. That's the way we do it. Hanging baskets, front porch. Got so many ideas. They just keep coming here. Everglades tomato. Okay, so kale. Kale doesn't taste great from the store. It's terrible. It's very good for you, but it's like ugh from the store. But if you grow it well and it's happy, it tastes pretty good and it's good for you. Alternately, you can feed it to chickens and just eat the eggs. But kale's good stuff if you grow it and you get a good variety. Salad greens. Salad greens are so easy. Get a big flat pot like this or some trays, and you go and buy a packet of lettuce seeds and just sprinkle them across the surface. Now, I recommend leaf lettuce, not head lettuce. It's much less touchy. Spread it across the surface. Work it in with your fingers. Water it. About a week, 2 weeks later, little lettuces start coming up. About 30 days later, you're picking leaves. and you can pick those leaves out of there for a couple of months, and then they start to bolt and get bitter, and it's no good anymore. But it is a fast garden, and you can grow your own organic greens. You're not risking E. coli. You're not risking any kind of toxins or pesticides or whatever else. Throw some salad greens out there. If you like the spicier stuff, mix in a few mustards, mix in some rocket, arugula, that kind of thing, chicory, dandelion greens. That's cool. But just what I often do to plant them is I just scatter the seeds over a spot and just go like this. Go down to the dollar store, get one of those big pots, get a couple of bags of their cheap potty soil, and then throw some coffee grounds in it to feed it, put in some of your compost, go out in the woods and rake up some leaf litter, whatever, and then just get a couple of packets of seeds, sprinkle it on the top, man, instant garden. It's a great thing to do with kids. Instant garden. It's easy. And herbs, which we should say herbs. I don't understand why we don't pronounce the H. That makes absolutely no sense. So plant herbs. Herbs. And hisbs as well, just to make sure it's equal opportunity. Plant an herb garden. And if you're regularly into cooking, chives, garlic chives, ginger. You can clip up the ginger leaves and cook with the ginger leaves rather than even using the root, and it will imbue what you're cooking with a little bit of a mild ginger flavor. It also makes a really nice tea. Chop the leaves up and pour boiling water, let it steep for a while. Very, very good. Cilantro, parsley, really easy. Sage is wonderful. You want to make some eggs and sausage for breakfast, chop some sage up and put it in there. It's delicious. I love sage. Rosemary and lavender. You can dry some lavender and put it in your pillow, and it'll like make you into a girl or something. I don't know. I mean, I just heard it was like it's great, but I don't do it. You can grow all kinds of little cool things. You can put some dill out there, fennel out there, and so now you've got these amazing herbs that you could bring in and cook in the kitchen. You've got a small amount of space, but you've got huge flavor. It's incredible. So that's high value. If you're gonna go buy fresh herbs from the store, you will pay for those little sprigs. You can do it yourself, and it'll be the freshest ever. You can give them the micronutrients, like the Steve Solomon mix that I've been doing. Give them the micronutrients. I bet you the flavor would be unbelievable. Just so good. I mean, how good things tasted in our test plots, despite our horrible soil, when we put all those micronutrients in there. You can take your pots and mix in some of those micronutrients in all those pots and grow on top of it, and you're going to have the best tasting herbs ever. It'll be really great. And it's high value. You can plant garlic and onions, and instead of trying to grow the garlic and the onions for the roots, if you don't want to do that, what you can do is take some of the garlic cloves and onions that are sprouting. Any of your onions are sprouting in the pantry, you don't get around to actually getting to cooking them. Take the sprouting ones and plant them. My wife does this regularly. She'll go stick an onion or a couple of garlic cloves into a corner of the gardens, and she goes out there with a pair of scissors and she cuts off some of the leaves, and she uses them just like chives. She'll cut them up and put them into food, and my kids actually like to eat the onion leaves right off the plants. They'll go out there and pick them and chew on them, and I can smell the kids coming from 10 feet away, like, oh my gosh, you've been eating the onions again, But the flavor is great, and you're getting the essence of onion without actually having to deal with getting seed onions and growing them up and doing all the care to get them to grow well. You just plant an onion and you cut the greens off it again and again and again. It's great. So hot peppers, tomatoes, kale, salad greens, herbs, garlic and onions for the tops. And now if you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm afraid that civilization is going to collapse and I can't afford a place in the country. I'm just going to hunker down where I am. I need to grow calories in my tiny little garden. Okay, you can actually grow a good bit of calories in a small garden. Some locales allow you also to keep a few chickens. So you keep a few chickens so you can get some eggs. That's great. You grow a little bit of kale for the chickens. You feed the kale to the chickens to get even higher quality egg yolks. Because, man, you feed kale to chickens, the egg yolks get really, really yellow and happy, which makes me think that, the kale's got to be good for us too, because it definitely makes a difference in the quality of chicken eggs. So if it makes a difference to chickens, I'm sure it makes a difference to us as well. But you can go up, do the barrel thing with potatoes. You know how you stack tires. I don't like to garden in tires, but I only do in when civilization is collapsing. But you can have a barrel and plant some potatoes at the bottom and keep stacking up and stacking up and stacking up to grow more potatoes and kind of go a little more vertical. That's really cool. The other thing you can grow that will actually give you a pretty darn good yield for the space is sweet potatoes. Potatoes and sweet potatoes are both hard to beat for yields, ease of growth. It's cool. They're both cool and they will keep you full, which is nice. If if you think that you're going to be hungry in the future, you want a little extra food bank in the ground, potatoes and sweet potatoes are a great way to go. If you've got a little more tropical climate, also I would plant cassava and I would plant true yams. If you are zone 8 and north, Diascoria, what is it? I think they changed the name again. It's just Diascoria Potatoes or Diascoria Potatoes. The cinnamon vine. The cinnamon vine yam, Chinese yam, grows all the way up into zone 4 or 5. And that is a nice, easy, no care. It's actually invasive, which means it's really, really easy to grow. That's a good calorie crop for up there. And if you are zone 8 and more tropical than zone 8, the Diascoria alata does really, really well. Diascoria cayennensis, some of those large tropical Asian, African yams. Very, very, very good. Very good staple crops. And they also have the benefit of growing up. Instead of sprawling along the ground, they climb. So you can put a trellis out and you can grow yams at the bottom of it. And you get these big yam. You can have a big yam every 1.5 feet. Boom, 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 boom. And they're growing straight up this trellis, which gives you a lot of space around. They don't consume a big area because they go up. So that's a couple of things I would do if I was short on space and I wanted to just have an extra bank of calories. Rather than stockpiling rice and beans in buckets, which I would do too. You just never know. But I would stick some of those high calorie things in the ground. And so plant high calorie and plant high dollar if you have the space for it. And now, if you've got a small yard and you want to grow fruit trees, right? Because you don't want to just eat your herbs and vegetables. It would be really nice to have fresh cherries, fresh plums, fresh peaches, figs, strawberries, things like that. Now, the strawberries are super, super easy because you can get one of those strawberry towers and put some really, really good soil in it and just, strawberries in all the holes. I've done that in the big blue barrels. And you cut the sides of it. My friend Curtis is just amazing. He's an engineering type guy. And he made me one of those. And I set it up wrong and it fell over. But until it fell over, it was really awesome. I need to get another one because it was cool as heck. I need to do a few of them. But doing one of those big barrel gardens, man, you can grow strawberries all around. You can get 40 strawberries in one of those things. That's impressive. And they make these pots that are specifically for strawberries, usually made out of terracotta. But I think that the plastic ones hold more water and they don't dry out as fast, so you're not going to have to water it quite as much. And this one that Curtis made, it also had a tunnel through the middle that you could throw compost down in there, and you put red wiggler worms, and they would eat it, and they would manure the inside and feed the strawberries. So basically, you're just cramming your kitchen waste down the top and covering the top. And in the very top of it, it was open. It could plant. Now I want to grow one of those things again. I wish Curtis was my neighbor again. Hey, Curtis, man, could you make me another barrel? I'm sorry, I knocked the other one over. Barrel. I'm gonna make one of those things again. It's so much fun. I have plenty of space, but I still like those things. Really neat. Um, so if you want to grow now fruit trees, like I was saying, figs and pears and peaches and stuff, there is a link to a book below this video. If you don't own it, go buy it. I will get a commission on Amazon, and that's very important. No, I'm telling you, go buy it. I don't care if you use my link or not. If you use my link, I make like a small percentage. So full disclosure, I'm not like trying to muscle you. Actually, if I was gonna try and get you guys to give me lots of money, I would put like links to something expensive on Amazon rather than books all the time. But I would buy the book anyway, so I have the Amazon link thing. But I'm telling you, go buy that book. Grow a Little Fruit Tree by Anne Ralph. Keep a fruit tree at like chest height. Turn fruit trees into hedges. Keep fruit trees in a space that you never thought you could grow fruit trees in. I mean, we're talking fruit trees as part of your tiny backyard garden. Like I could have grown in my parents' backyard when I was a kid. I could have grown mangoes or oranges or something like that in that 500 square feet and still had space for vegetables. Because the techniques and the pruning that she uses are just it's so cool. Like a lot of the data over the years has been pushing towards, commercial growers. And over, in the last decade, there are a lot of people, particularly spearheaded by Dave Wilson Nursery, and Anne Ralph has been a part of their circle, to do backyard orchards, backyard orchard culture, not trees that get to be 30 feet tall, but trees that you're keeping at 5 foot. You pick in a few baskets of apples a year that are the best apples that you've ever had because they grew in your backyard in good soil. They weren't sprayed with anything. You took care of them. You grew them like a garden plant, not like a commercial crop that you're spraying with all kinds of poisons and garbage and chemical fertilizer. You're feeding this little tree in your backyard, and it's rewarding you with, different varieties of apples. So you put this apple and this apple and this apple. You put 3 apples in one hole. You can bend apples around. You can make hedges out of them. You can do this with pears. You are not limited, even if you have a tiny space. You can put a Jabuticaba tree in a pot. Here's Jabuticaba. Jabuticaba is one of my favorite tropical fruit trees ever. I kept a starfruit tree in a pot in North Florida, and it would bear starfruit for me in the greenhouse. And I could keep it from freezing, and I would get starfruit. I kept it small. I pruned the center of it out. I had a mango that I kept at 5 feet tall that I put in my greenhouse, pruning the center of it out regularly over and over again. So you can do things that you didn't think were possible. You can grow fruit trees in pots on a patio. The Romans apparently grew citrus, even outside of its range. And Italians still grow citrus in pots regularly in areas where it hits freezing, and they want to have a lemon or a lime, which don't like freezing weather at all. They'll grow them in pots on their patios, and they'll just haul them in. You could put wheels on the bottom of your pots if you wanted to. But you could get rid of the ornamentals that you have, cut the azaleas down, replace them with blueberries. Take that crab apple in the backyard, cut it back, and graft actual apples onto it. Take the flowering pear, cut it back, graft real pears onto it. Take down that weeping willow tree and plant a grapefruit or something instead. So, if you've got a small space and you really want to be a gardener and you really want to grow food, by all means, remove some of your bunch grasses and plant sugarcane. If you're going to plant some sort of pretty background plant, like say a bunching bamboo, get a clumping bamboo that makes edible bamboo shoots, like a good eaten variety. Now that's awesome, right? I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. You can make an edible landscaping. Rosalind Creasy was like one of my favorite writers on edible landscaping. You could do that. You can grow papaya in pots. Papaya will fruit for you in a year to a year and a half if you take care of them. You can go to the store, buy a papaya, take some of the seeds out of the papaya, spread them on top of a pot of dirt, thin them out so you've got one or two of them left in the pot, and then let them grow up. I mean, the papaya is like blooming in 5 months. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do. Now, if you're dealing with a small garden with pots, you can really push the zone with the tropical stuff. You can just take things inside when it gets cold. Like I was saying, Jabuticaba, you can grow acerola cherry, you can grow star fruits and mangoes, you can grow lemons. You can grow things that that people aren't used to seeing in your area. You can grow bananas, in pots. And you just haul them in for the period of time that it's freezing, and they may not be that happy, but when the spring comes around, they'll be happy again. Adjust them to the light and the temperatures slowly. Don't just take them out of your dark house and put them right into full sun right away. Start them out in the shade, let them get used to it, and then they'll start to adjust. But you could do a lot of stuff if you're dealing with a small space and you're coming in and out with pots. And pots don't have to be a bad thing. It's not like there have been times where I'm like, why would you grow in pots in Florida? Why don't you just grow stuff in the soil? Work on the soil and grow. You don't need to have containers. And this is usually when people are like, I can't grow anything in my soil. I feel like I need to container garden. I'm like, yeah, that's one thing you can do. But really, you should plant stuff that doesn't mine the soil and grow a bunch of food in the ground because it's really simple. Once you figure it out, it's really simple. You can grow a lot of stuff in the sand. Sand is really great for a lot of root crops. But anyhow, that's a side thing. But the pots don't have to be a bad thing. It's not like, it's not necessarily that you're giving up. Sometimes it's just the best way to go. Craig LaHalliere, who wrote the book Epic Tomatoes, Craig plants a lot of his tomatoes and eggplants, almost all of them, in pots. He has rows and rows and rows of pots on his big driveway. He's got this big paved area, patio, I think where they probably used to have a basketball hoop or something like that. It's like this big patio plaza area outside of his house. It's just a normal house, but he says he's got this hard clay and it's not particularly good soil. And so he makes the best soil mixes that he can with potting soil, and he grows his tomatoes in pots. 1 tomato per pot, and he's got great big supports that he puts up for them. I mean, it's a heck of a thing, but he's got this perfect controlled soil for his tomatoes in pots, in rows on this big plaza. You can see pictures of it in his book, Epic Tomatoes. It's very, very good. And he's the best tomato grower that I've ever seen, and he's not even, growing them in the ground. Doesn't mean that you're failing because you're putting stuff in pots. It's just another thing that you can do. So one other benefit of the small space thing, which I think other people often overlook, a big space means a big amount of work. A big space means a lot of amendments. I've talked about why I don't mulch my gardens much. It's because my gardens are so big that the sheer amount of materials I need to mulch them makes it a very difficult method. We're talking 10 loads of wood chips. And I'm not in a spot where they drop wood chips. I haven't been able to catch a single truck with a shredder on it in the last 6 months, despite storms coming through. They just hauled the logs and they threw them into the backs of these trucks and they hauled them off to some municipal facility or something far away. Out here, they just weren't bothering. So I say, if you have a small space, say your backyard is 1,000 square feet or 2,000 square feet, you can make that area the richest, most insanely nutrient-dense area. You could pile up the mulch. You can go buy azomite and green sand. You can put zeolite out there, and you can burn biochar. You can get ashes from your fireplace and spread it around. You can get big, massive amounts of compost and stuff, and you can build the soil up to be the most insanely rich soil without having to spend an absolute fortune on it. The benefits of like intensively working a small space, like this is all you get. Having constraints can lead you to make a much better garden rather than, well, I'll just tear up more space over there and till it under and throw some 10-10-10 on it. You're like, it doesn't cost that much to feed this area well. I could make up enough Steve's mix. I mean, the Steve's mix that I was using was for 100 square foot of space, it's a quart a couple of times a season, and that's all the micronutrients, all the fertilizer, all the macros that plants need to grow to an insane level. So if you were to throw that stuff around, say, a 2,000 square foot area, it's not going to cost you a fortune. It'll cost you a fortune if you're doing it in a 10,000 square foot garden like I have. It gets to be sort of prohibitive. You're like, well, this is a lot of work, which is, bit by bit, I'll build things up with biochar and try to do some chop and drop and grow cover crops and stuff like that to kind of make up the difference. But to really intensively feed and care for everything in a giant space, it takes a lot more time and it takes a lot more expense. It takes a lot more effort. And that's, I've been very grateful that the neighbor has a tractor that I can borrow anytime I want, because if I was to fork and broad fork this whole area, I would probably have 1/4 of the space done that I have done right now. But if you're working with a small space, count your blessings. Build it up into the very best space. If you have really, really, really rich soil that you've built up in a small space, if you have really, really rich soil in pots, things just grow better than if you have a great big space but not enough amendments in it. A big plot of poor ground may be less productive than a small plot of super rich ground. And you can really concentrate your effort. It doesn't take you as much time to get things done. Grow a hedgerow along one wall. Your figs, apples, and pears, keep them pruned small, like in the book, Grow a Little Fruit Tree. You can build into this space and make it just this incredible little beautiful oasis. And then as you're doing it, throw in some flowers and throw in some stuff that gives you joy. Put in some extra pots in your backyard. There's nothing that says you can't plant cabbages in a circle or write your name by planting daffodil bulbs through the back of your yard or something. You can do all these little things and have fun. Don't stress out over the gardening. Stick things in wherever there's a gap. If you see, you're like, that crepe myrtle tree, it's got fungus on it, and I never really liked that thing there anyways, cut it down and plant something else. And then chop it up into pieces and throw it onto one of your garden beds to feed the ground. You can do some really cool stuff. Put a little bench out there and put a little arbor over the top of it. Get a hog panel and put it up there, a couple hog panels, and grow some climbing peas or grow yard-long beans on it, or scarlet runner beans. Grow yams on it, grow some really pretty stuff. You can, and then of course, if you want to really maximize the space that you have too, you can grow in layers. If you've got enough sunlight, you could do like I did down in the tropics, and you have some taller stuff, and then around the taller stuff, you have some shorter stuff, and then on the ground cover, you have a ground cover layer. So say you put an apple tree, you plant a couple of blackberries at the base of the apple, and then around those you plant some raspberries. Now you've got 3 different types of fruit in the same space. And the strawberries don't mind a little bit of shade in the middle of summer. So, don't give up. Be creative. I find that if you are thankful for the little bit that you have and for the space that you have, and you just say, this is what I have, and this is what I'm going to work with, and, thank the Lord for the blessings that you've got and work with it, you'll be encouraged. And you'll find that you enjoy it, and the ground gets better and better, and you get more and more harvests, and soon people are going, holy moly, how did you manage to grow so many beets in such a tiny yard? Look at the 10th acre homestead, the Dervai family. The late Mr. Dervai he and his kids planted this insane, tight little urban farm in Southern California, and were like supplying all these restaurants and stuff with organic produce. It's beautiful. But they just squeezed every crazy bit of space. They used it and they used it and they used it. And it's the most beautiful looking thing. So don't be afraid to hack things out that don't work and to chop things up and graft as you need to. Use all the space that you can. Plant vines and send food up. Put trellises all over everything. Grow right onto your fences. Grow onto the backside of your house. Just go with it. Use the space. Enjoy it and build as you go. And, we just got to be thankful for what we have and work with what we have. And if you don't have any space at all, make some friends and borrow somebody else's yard, because a lot of people want to grow a garden right now. And if you want to put your hands in the dirt, there is somebody that you can bless and somebody that you can share with and somebody that will share with you. So that is what I wanted to tell you all this evening. I had so many notes, and I said, I'm just going to give you guys all my thoughts on this system and these thoughts. So thank you all for listening to me rant about it, and I hope it was inspiring. I want to thank Ajax here sending 2 large super chats. D to the G doing God's work. Well, I hope so. Thank you. And thanks from Australia. Thank you, Australia. Thank you very much, Ajax. It's very, very, very generous of you. I'm glad you're here, and glad it can be inspiring. And welcome to Jacques. Welcome, new member. Glad you're here. I appreciate the support. Lauren says, we just hacked out the oleander today. Perfect timing for my squash. That's amazing. Those oleanders scare me. I've got kids, and oleander that's a toxic plant. They're beautiful plants, but man, they are toxic. So, yeah, thank you for joining, Monique. I appreciate it. Jake12399 says, thumbs up if you bought one of David's books. Thank you. I do have links to my books below, and also a link to Anne Ralph's book, Grow a Little Fruit Tree, below this video, which I think if you don't own it, you should own that book. It is so stinking good. It is just inspiring. Yes, you can grow an apple tree, an itty bitty apple tree, just about anywhere. You can grow a little tiny citrus. You can grow a little tiny peach tree. You can do it yourself. And it doesn't have to be some special dwarfing rootstock either. You can do it. Ed says, planning a greenhouse. Found a deal on clear roofing panels on Facebook. Bought enough to do a triangle, 25 by 25 by 32. We'll use fence top rail for the poles and frame. That sounds great. Jenny says, I have no soil, growing in a cement backyard. Wow. There's about 8 foot of dirt behind my garage where I compost. Composting has saved me tons thanks to channels like yours. YouTube University. I know. Isn't YouTube amazing? There's just so much information on here, and it's you're always seeing cool things, There's a lot of inspiration. Man, you guys had a great set of discussions going on here. Everybody seems to like 30,000 Years. They say that's their favorite song that I've written. The no-till one is. I wrote that off the top of my head during a stream once. I don't think I could even play it again, but it came out pretty well. Karen, thank you. Karen says, I have read your books and love your advice. I appreciate it. Sean has bought most of my books. Thank you. Monique said, before we got our chipper, we flagged the electric dudes down. They brought us 4 truckloads. Had to turn the 5th away. Man, it's hard to say no. Arkansas Woodcutter says, My life has many facets. I worked in Israel one summer as well. Drank coffee from a brass pot on an open fire overlooking the birthplace of Samson. Yeah, you can't trade. You can't trade experiences like that. I've learned to simply say yes. Sometimes, would you like to do this thing? And my initial, it's funny. I mean, you might think that I'm kind of crazy and stuff, but my initial response is, nah, I don't know if I really want to do that. I think I want to stay home and garden. But usually, if I say yes, I have an experience that's interesting. Like when I first moved here to Alabama, a friend says, "You want to go jet skiing with us?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm gonna go poke around the garden." And he's like, "Dude, come on." All right, I guess so. Anyhow, we get on the jet skis. He's got these super fast jet skis. You get on the Tensas River, and 55 miles per hour on a jet ski on the river. It feels like nothing. It's just, nothing else. It's incredible. They just getting shoved back and flying down the river. Yeah, I liked it, and I should just say yes more often. All right. Well, Lisa and Chucky, I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. I love hearing from people. Sometimes I write on my blog, The Survival Gardener. I'll write a post, almost every weekday, and sometimes it's like 0 comments, and I think, I wonder if anybody's reading it. But then later, I'll see, okay, well, there was like 100 and something views or 200 views or whatever. So people did read it. And then I'll share something else, and sometimes people are like, there's just 10 comments, and the blogging doesn't reach people quite as easily as YouTube does. It's sort of its own little thing. But I started as a blogger before I became a YouTuber, and I think that YouTube has really allowed me to reach a lot more people, and I've met some really cool people. What is the Baphemus? I have to know. You have to look up Baphemus. I have a couple of videos on the Baphemus, and there is an unedited version too. The second Baphemus movie actually came out to be too scary for children. There's a lot of children that watch this channel, and I was trying to make a budget horror film. Like I'm a gardener, and I'm getting there's some horrible scary creature out in the woods, but it came out a little too intense. I had a frozen goat head that appeared in it, and I was like, it looked like I was gargling blood at one point. And I said, all these parents, like my kids think it's hilarious, but I'm very respectful of how other parents raise their kids, and you don't want to see this guy. Sit down and watch David the Good. So I edited the living daylights out of it, but I did an unedited version. It's pretty funny, but it's it definitely did look like a B, budget horror movie, kind of stupid, a stupid B horror movie. But yeah, I was like, I can't put that. People are trusting that I'm not going to put anything up too scary for the kids. Be like, why is David the Good? Why was he was like turned into a monster and he ate a goat and then there was blood everywhere. Okay, it's fake. It's all fake. It's like I was being funny and I think it's hilarious, but. Yeah, so like poor kids watching YouTube. Don't let your kids watch YouTube, people. You never know if they're going to see some scary Baphemus. The B in B movie stands for Baphemus. Benjamin says, David the Good, could you grow papayas in hard clay? Rather, what could you plant in hard clay? Well, yeah, tomatoes actually don't mind clay. They grow pretty well in it, and if you beat the clay up enough, you can grow quite a bit in it. Papaya doesn't like it very much. Papaya does not like wet feet. So if you grow in clay, mound it up higher, Wow. Ajax sends another super chat and says, how much for a film? Thank you very much. Lower and upper bounds. Like how much would it cost for a film? I mean, if I was to do another Behemoth movie, it didn't really cost me anything except time. And it's the sort of thing I pour a bunch of time into, and then there's not any real reward for it other than I made a B movie. So, yeah, I mean, I am tempted. I kind of have a plot put together for a third one, and I haven't done it. And I've got swamps and stuff here that I can film in. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say something like that. Like, if I was to do a regular gardening movie, if I was to put the effort in, like this tomato project took me a long, long time. It's coming out soon. There were some copyright issues with YouTube, so I'm going to re-record the entire soundtrack myself on my own instruments tomorrow. My family is going to be on the road, so my oldest son and I are going to hang around here, and we're going to record music for the entire morning, and we will record a soundtrack. But if I do a like an intense demonstration type video, I can expect that over the next year or two, it's going to make a few $100 in ad revenue and that kind of thing. So for like doing Behemoth or something like that, it usually taps out at a couple, 2,000 or 3,000 views rather than 100,000, rather than a bunch of views. So some people watch it, and some of my fans think it's great, and some people that with senses of humor that are as demented as mine think it's funny, but it doesn't catch the algorithms. If I knew that I did a Behemoth movie and it was going to make $1,000, I would totally just do Behemoth movies, But it's one of those things where it's like, I will get to it when I feel inspired, I guess. But I do have to do. Right now, I've mostly just been focusing not on so much on the super creative, esoteric stuff, but just trying to get people gardening for the spring. Biscuits. I really appreciate it, Ajax. It's very generous of you. Ajax says, I'm just sending what I wanted to over the last 6 months. I always miss live streams. So I'm glad you caught me tonight. I mean, that's crazy generous of you. Australia money's pretty good stuff. Arkansas Woodcutter says, thank you for the inspiration, sir. Much love and God bless. Hey, have a good night. Sean says, if I ever start a band, I'll need B-roll footage for stage effects, so Behemoth might have to make an appearance. More banana splits. Look, my kids don't eat much sugar. I mean, we're one of those like really restrictive households where we try to eat healthy stuff most of the time. Just because if you feed 9 kids sugar, not only do you end up with dental issues, you get crazy kids. And my kids, you can imagine, they're already a little bit crazy. And I don't eat hardly any sugar, so it's not like hugely tempting. I mean, when we had banana splits the other night, I didn't even have any banana splits. My kids do enjoy them though, but not that often. Why did I move to Alabama? I was doing some work. A ministry was looking at some land here, and I decided to try and I decided to help them. They asked me if I would help them to look at some land, and so we looked at some land, and I did not have a place to stay. We just moved back to the States, and it had been very difficult to get back. We've been in a tough situation down in the Caribbean, and we looked at some land, and I looked at land in Alabama for them, and a nice gentleman gave me a ride all the way up. He worked with the ministry, and he picked me up in Fort Lauderdale and drove me all the way up, and we went and looked at a bunch of land. And while I was here, I met a guy who said, you need a place to stay. And I said, yeah, actually, we've been looking all over Florida. Rachel was back in Florida hunting for a place for us to rent. And the place that we were going to rent in Central Florida was falling to pieces. It was no good. And it was the place that we thought we were moving to, but it was going to take so much work. And we were so burnt out. And the yard was completely shady, except for one little spot. And it was on a highway. And I was like, this won't work. The place is a wreck. The yard is not going to work. How am I going to do my gardening? And if I don't do gardening, what am I going to do? I mean, YouTube is like a big chunk of where my book sales and things like that come from. It's really my job, or a piece of my job at this point. And I'm like, I don't know where we're gonna go. So this guy says, you want to rent here? And I was like, it's a long way from my mom and my sisters. They're all the way down south in Fort Lauderdale. So, but I called Rachel and I showed her this house and the land here, and the guy tells me, he's like, look, it's got 30 acres. He says, it's a family house. We just remodeled it, and it's got 4 bedrooms and 3 acres. And I said, well, that's a long ways, but, you know, how much is the rent? $800 a month. $800 a month. It's a long way from home, but so I called Rachel and I showed her the place, and she takes a look and she goes, just rent it. I can't find anything down here. And I didn't expect to be here, but that's how we ended up here. I mean, I just have an amazing landlord, and it was like God just put it together, because I mean, I haven't been able to sell the land that I have down there. Things have been crazy all through Corona season, and we've just been so stressed out. So stressed, and we don't have any place to live. And then suddenly out of the blue, this nice guy who's a friend of a friend, he's like, I would love to have you on my land. You want to farm it? Yes, I would. I would love to farm it. There's a tractor you can borrow. All right, God is good. Praise the Lord. I had no idea where I was going. I didn't know it was going to be in Alabama, but roll tide. So, yeah, seriously. No, it was unbeatable. It's 30 acres. 30 acres. It's mostly woods, and there's a lot of there's actually a lot of swamp here and moccasins and rattlesnakes and stuff, but it's got about 4 acres, 3 acres maybe, you know, that we can actually really farm. Maybe 3 acres, but that's better than I've ever had. I was completely unexpected. I mean, I was absolutely stunned. I mean, when Corona locked everything down on the island, it locked down so hard they had the grocery stores shut. There was almost a riot that broke out because people were not able to get their shopping done, and they were doing it by like last names, and people were fighting in line, and there was like 2-mile long lines to get food, and the government shut all the airports, and they shut down just about everything, and then they got like hardcore lockdown stuff, and it was so freaky. And then my neighbors started acting really weird. They stopped talking to us, and there was, I don't know what was going on, but I think everybody was under stress, and suddenly we were not wanted. They didn't want to renew our visas, and it was crazy. So, you know, everything worked out way different than I expected. I did not choose to be here. Ajax, man alive. All right, that's enough. Thank you. Ajax says, I only eat veggies out of my garden now. Here's my savings. Last one, I swear. Oh, thank you. That's crazy. I was on the island of Grenada, and it got pretty weird, and there were like some anti-police type protests going on, and some anti-foreigner protests, and we were glad to get out. Normally it's a really chill island. There's some very, very, very nice, friendly people there and stuff, but it got really weird really fast. You see what things get like when people are under stress, and it was under stress. People were under stress. I mean, the murder rate in the United States is way up because of the stress of all this stuff, you know. But, you know, the Lord is good. He directs us where he wants us to go. So go to Alabama. And then one of the things that I loved about here was that the soil was horrible. This is the worst soil that I have ever gardened on in my entire life. Praise the Lord. Why would I praise the Lord for bad soil? I'll tell you. Ha ha ha. I am David the Good. I grow my own food on whatever soil that I've got. I wrote the book, compost everything. I lay stuff on top of the ground. I put everything out there to rot. If the ground is bad, it gives me a chance to prove all the stuff I write about and grow some happy plants. I'm David the Good, and I grow all of my food, and I really don't mind bad soil. There we go. So it's a great thing. I love it. I was like, this soil's terrible. I took a soil test. I sent it to Steve Solomon. He says, this is the worst soil I've ever seen. Yes! Worst soil. Horrible. It's like the stuff they would throw away at a construction site because it's not good enough for fill dirt. Terrible. Yes, it's a game. Exactly. Lisa says so you could figure out how to beat it. It's a game. As a friend of mine said, I know why you like it. Because it's a game. Now it's a game. It's a challenge. I love the challenge. It's exciting. And so if I'm writing gardening books, and one of the things I've complained about a little bit about, I've complained about in gardening books is you get gardening books from people that are growing in climates with great soil. Right? So you get a gardening book and people telling you how easy it is. Tomatoes are really simple to grow and they're fun. No, they're not. They're not fun at all. They break your heart. Tomatoes are home wreckers. Tomatoes are disgusting. I love tomatoes. I hate tomatoes. They're a pain in the neck. But if you're writing a gardening book and you're up in the Northeast and you got nice, rich, loamy soil and you write about it, it's so easy to grow a good organic garden. I don't know why everybody doesn't do it. Somebody told me, a couple people told me, potatoes are the easiest thing in the world to grow. Potatoes are so easy. I said, no, they're not. They are in some climates. They are in some soils. But man, I grew them in North Florida, and the darn fire ants killed them. Like they dug into the middle of the potatoes and ate them. Unbelievable. Terrible. I want to thank Alba Jaloco here for the super chat. It's grow time. It's grow time. Seed money. Thank you very much. So, you look at, I have gardened in hard, rocky clay before in Tennessee and in construction soil there in Tennessee, subsoil clay, and I managed to grow in it. I managed to turn it into soil. Unfortunately, that was before I was really documenting or filming things. And I managed to grow in South Florida sand. Terrible, terrible South Florida sand. And I grew some beautiful stuff there. And here I am with this weird, degraded loam grit that turns mushy when it rains. And then it gets dry really fast again. And it has almost no nutrition in it whatsoever. And there's terrible insect problems here. And the weather swings back and forth between being too cold and being too hot. It's great. It's great. If I'm going to be writing gardening books, if I want to call myself The Survival Gardener, thesurvivalgardener.com is my website. I named it that on purpose. Like, I want to grow to survive. I don't want to just grow as a hobby. I want to be able to feed myself in no matter what happens. I have a family that I want to feed good food to in rain or shine, good years, bad years. We want to be able to eat from our garden. If I'm in poor conditions, it is better for everyone else. It's better for everyone else than if I'm growing in good conditions and I'm just telling you how easy it is. You know what I did? I just threw down leaves. Put a bunch of leaves on top of the ground and I just plant my tomatoes and I get massive tomatoes. That's all I do. It's not like I've got to do all kinds of weird stuff to grow good food here. Wait until the summer comes. And the spring, you're going to look at my gardens and go, oh my gosh, look at all those pests and problems and everything, and I'm going to have to fight it. It's going to get too hot. It's going to get too dry. I don't have good irrigation out there. All this stuff I'm going to have to pull through. So I'm going to get there. Monique says, David, you should watch Kiss the Ground on YouTube. All right, I'll make a note of that. I'm making a note of it right now. I'm going to post it into another window. So thank you. I'll watch that. Yeah, did I say family or football team? Could be either. Yep. Summer is brutal. I will prevail. I don't quit. I like to fail a lot over and over again until I figure out the thing that I don't fail at, and then I double down on that and I just grab it and follow it. I've had books that didn't do well. I've done ghostwriting projects that didn't do well. I tried to sell short stories for a long time to sci-fi and fantasy magazines. I've published under a pen name and had almost no sales. You know, you don't just stop with the first thing, like the first garden or the first book or the first job or whatever. You just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I have written advertising. I've moved furniture. I've mowed lawns. I've built furniture. I had a little, you know, I've done woodworking. I worked in a guitar shop for a while, trying to get a luthier to train me how to build guitars, but the guy was kind of a shyster and he didn't made promises and they didn't keep. I wanted to build guitars. You know, I had a house painting company for a while. I ran a plant nursery for a while. I have edited lots and lots of audio for different people. I worked in Christian radio as an audio producer, and I did all kinds of different stuff. I've done advertisements for t-shirt companies. I have gone to homeschool conventions and manned a booth. A lot of stuff. I've done a lot of different things, you know, and a lot of things I found out that's not really the best thing for me to do. I didn't enjoy it or it didn't work. Gardening is the one thing that I kept coming back to. And so I find, okay, this is what I'm going to double down on. This is what I'm going to keep pushing. And thanks to you guys, my books sell. And I now make enough from the book sales and from the YouTube and the super chats and stuff like that to actually make it worthwhile. Like I can garden and I can learn and I can grow and I can push and I can deal with the bad soil and keep creating and creating and creating resources and doing what I absolutely love to do because of you guys. So it's awesome. Carolyn says, can we hear 30,000 Years tonight? Yeah, I could sing it. I should see if I can get my wife to play on it. That'll freak her out. She doesn't like it when I call her spontaneously. Hey, would you play this thing for me? Just bring in your violin. You know what we were playing the other night? And I'm going to probably go play it with the kids again. We're trying to do an instrument cover, like on Real Instruments, a cover of Moby's Extreme Ways. And it sounds really cool. There we go. There's 30,000 Years. It sounds so neat. I don't know if you guys even know that. Anybody know that song, Extreme Ways? It would demonetize me if I played it. Where did I stick I stuck my pick somewhere. All right. This song is called 30,000 Years. It's written by one of my favorite artists, a guy called David the Good. Somewhere beneath the ice, somewhere cold and deep, that's where we found it, sleeping through the years, we brought it to the light and took it home. Look at me, Mom, I He carried a basket full, dried meat and currants, picked flowers on her way. Dropped her posy in the grass, lost in the moonlight for an age or two. Look at me, Mom, I'm doing science. Look at me, Mom, see it blooming. 30,000 years, 30,000 years. Look at me, Mom, I found a flower. Look at me, Mom, see it blooming. 30,000 years, 30,000 years. 30,000 years. Take that copy right there and put it on the album. Somebody rip it off of YouTube and put it on the album. Extreme Ways. Let's see if we can get demonetized for a minute. I'm gonna find this. Extreme Ways was on the first Bourne Identity film, which I enjoyed. Let me see if I can find this. It's a, it's like a techno dance song, but when you convert it into a acoustic song, it sounds kind of cool. Extreme ways are back again, extreme places I didn't know. I broke everything new again, and everything that I'd owned. Threw it out the windows, came along. Extreme ways I know apart, the colors of my sea. Perfect color me. Extreme ways that help me out late at night. Extreme places I had gone, never seen any light. Dirty basements, dirty noise, dirty places coming through. Stream with alone. Did you ever like a plan? I would stand in line for this. There's always room in life for this. Oh baby, then it fell apart, fell apart. Oh baby, like it always does. Oh baby, then it fell apart. Oh baby, like it always does. Dream songs that told me, held me down every night. Didn't have much to say, didn't give above the light. I closed my eyes and closed myself and closed my world and never opened up to anything that could get me along. Had to close down everything, had to close down my mind. Too many things to cover me, too many can make me blind. Seen so much in so many places, so many heartaches, so many faces, so many dirty things you wouldn't even believe. I would stand in line for this. There's always room in life for this. Oh baby, then it fell apart. It fell apart. Oh baby, then it fell apart. Fell apart. Oh baby, then it fell apart. Fell apart. Oh baby, like it always does. So if you do that song, it really helps to have a backbeat. So my middle son goes and he plays the drums on it. It's like, and then I've got my younger son playing the bass, and then my oldest son is playing some other stuff. So it comes out really well in the end. It's kind of cool, you know. And then I've got my wife playing the violin in the background. So that's where we're trying to set it up. So it's pretty cool. And thank you very much, Carolyn, for the super chat. Thank you for the song. Christopher says that's really a pretty melody. I appreciate it. It's the song 30,000 Years you're talking about. The song 30,000 Years is about scientists pulling up some frozen seeds from beneath the ice cap, and I'm picturing what the girl who was thousands of years before dropping, flowers in the grass, and then it being found later by scientists, Ajax says, should do a beginner's guitar lesson. Everyone should own one. Oh, it's so much fun. I thought about doing some guitar lessons, but there's people that are better than me on YouTube teaching already. So, can I play the old David the Good intro song? Yeah, but I don't have the lyrics of it. Christopher said, when my oldest was just a baby, I used to hold him up singing Extreme Ways. Oh, baby, and he would giggle. I bet he did. So much fun. Oh, let me see if I can find the cherry tree. Buried my rabbit beneath the cherry tree. I wonder if I have it on this computer. Ooh, I may not. I think it might have been on my laptop, but oh no, I have it. I hope I have the lyric or the chords. Buried my rabbit beneath the cherry tree. There it is. Buried my rabbit beneath the cherry tree. One fine afternoon. Someday I know that we'll meet again on a fruit salad spoon. Laid my hamster to rest last night beneath the pumpkin vine. Someday I know that we'll meet again in a Thanksgiving pie. If it dies when it's at my house, it'll end up in the soil. My trees are all fed by pets, shuffling off this mortal coil. Shuffling off this mortal coil. Put my puppy beneath the garden bed one early winter morn. Someday I know that we'll meet again in a lovely row of corn. If it dies when it's at my house, it'll end up in the soil. My trees are all fed by pets, shuffling off this mortal coil. Laid the taxman to rest last night beneath the money tree. I know that we'll never meet again, 'cause he won't be in heaven with me. If it dies when it's at my house, it'll end up in soil. My trees are all fed by pets, shuffling off this mortal coil. Buried my rabbit neath the cherry tree one fine afternoon. One day I know that we'll meet again on a fruit salad spoon. That's the whole song. It's Friday night. We can play music. Thank you, Joe, for the tip there. Here's another $5 for your tip jar. You rock always. Much appreciated. And thank you, Elba Jaloco, for the... Man, you guys are very generous. But it's fun. It is fun. We're doing the Friday night live music thing here. So, Matthew the taxman will be in heaven. Ed corrects us. Yes, there is at least one taxman in heaven. We do know that. Buried under a death hedge. Poke him in the eye song? Lisa, I can do that. Little Susie don't like hamsters 'cause they sneak into her room at night. Got a pen under her pillow so she can poke 'em in the eye, poke 'em in the eye. Won't let them catch her sleeping. She'll be alert when the hamsters are creeping. Poke 'em in the eye, 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 poke 'em in the eye. Little Johnny loves a hamster named Brian, gives him all his hugs and kisses. Sending out the hamster haters and the friends to sink or swim with the fishes. Well, snakes all smile and the lizards laugh. Brian the hamster's Johnny's little golden calf. So sing a song of picket fence, sing a song of pie. All my little homeboys poke 'em in the eye. Spin around the wheel, press your face up to the glass. Smile with your eyeballs as the pretty hamsters pass. I'll see a carving knife, but they got short tails. Poking eyes is a way of life, at least we are not snails. Well, Vic was slick, 'cause on the kicky lick, making some shtick over who flicked his bick. But he got nicked by Bit's quick dick, who always tricks dicks at a quick bit. I'll pick up sticks while they try to throw pies at the multicolored flies, wearing their itty bitty suits and ties. But the flies are quick and they know the trick. They poke 'em in the eye, 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 poke 'em in the eye. I know are too cool for school. You know I take them swimming in my hamster swimming pool. So grab your sneakers, teach your hamster how to fly. And if he gets rowdy, just poke him in the eye. Poke him in the eye, 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 poke him in the eye. My goodness. That's hilarious, Lisa. Lisa, oh my gosh. If this campers are rocking, it's because David's playing that one song, the hamster song. It's a way to confuse everyone. I'm just going to crank this song up out the window. So, well, thank you very much, Tina. Tina says gardening and music makes the best live stream. I know. I had this incredible set of notes for today's live stream, and then I'm like, I picked the guitar up, and after, there you go. It's over. You know what song I want to do now? You guys are going to have to start naming food. You're going to have to start naming food, all right? You remember this one? Bad Dreams. Well, I lay down in bed around the middle of the night, and then I felt so hungry, had to get up for a bite. So I looked in the fridge for something good to know, and promptly made a pile out of everything I saw. Well, I should have known better than to pack up my guts when I eat the snack food I deserve when I got bad dreams. All night, all night, all night bad. First I made a sandwich with 4 slices of bread. I didn't have mayo, so I used ketchup instead. Grabbed a slice of ham and some other kind of meat, packed in some marshmallows, topped it off neat. Then I had bad dreams all night, all night. Very, very bad dreams all night, all night, all night bad dreams. Well, a string of sausages, a 4 cup of cream, a bag of pork rinds, and a pitcher of tea. 12 donuts plus some broccoli and cheese, 15 candies from a box of chili beans. Then I had bad dreams all night, all night. Very, very bad dreams all night, all night, all night bad dreams. Let me run through a few of the foods that I ate. Oreos and lo mein, cucumber and a London broil, bacon and tacos and enchiladas, pudding and calamari, turnips and enchiladas. No, I can't say the Z word, Bruce and Bear. You're gonna throw off my flow. You're wrecking my flow, Bruce and Bear. Reese's Pieces, a fried spider, bacon and pancake. No, stop it, Jesus. No, we don't say that word on this channel. This is a family-friendly channel. No Z word. Pumpkins and ribeye and salmon and avocados, with a little bit of moringa tea, quiche, chinchilla chili, lasagna and boiled peanuts, carambola and fish-eyed soup. Fish-eyed soup. Green chili cheeseburger, tapioca, turnips and bacon, chaya, oranges and some plum pudding, and octopus and CBD treats. Can you do that? Like, that's a thing? That's a thing. That sounds like one of them. That sounds like one of them hippie things. I don't know about all that there. Oh my gosh, there's so many foods. Daikon radishes and almonds, smut stir fried with onion and red corn, kernels, purple hull, pink eyes, pickles, smoked pork, tenderloin, gefilte fish, NyQuil on cornflakes, and cheddar cheese and bacon and red velvet cheese. No wonder I'm having bad dreams. This is horrible. I'm gonna die. I can't even read these. Coffee and pimento cheese, potato chips and some tacos, please, and some chitterlings and some pickles and velvet beans, dipped in chocolate, olives and hamburger stew, gefilte fish again, and lots of smiley faces that are laughing, and whole pineapple, jalapeno stuffed with smoked cream cheese, red hot chili peppers, some crispy fried grasshoppers to accompany your enchilada. Oh, wow. Kimchi and quiche, black pepper, bacon dipped in sour cream, my favorite. Brussels sprouts, Lisa. Go to your room. Fruit Loops and beer, The breakfast of champions. Oh, my pumpkin pies with cream cheese frosting. Oh my gosh. I can't keep up. You guys are too fast. Holy moly. Spaghetti squash, black pepper, hot mango pickles, fried ice cream, shrimp, keto pancakes, spicy rabbit feet, oxalic acid. No, I'm a carnivore now. There's no more oxalic acid. It's not in beef. I eat nothing but beef. Carolina Reapers, that'll give you nightmares. Cheese whiz and fried green tomatoes, German chocolate cake and bananas, stir-fried aloe vera blossoms and leeks, and crayfish and ham and mustard and kitty roca. I don't know what kitty roca is. I don't know this word. Brown bananas and cocktail sauce. We don't make you eat more chocolate. Hogshead cheese. No, I'm not gonna say the Z. Chicken fried sweet peas. Ice cream and tacos and gator sausage. Ooh, okay. Okay, I gotta stop. It's too much. We gotta go to the next slide. So what did I have? I had bad dreams all night, all night. All night, bad dreams. All night, all night. All night, bad dreams. Bad dreams, bad dreams, bad dreams, bad dreams. Very, very bad dreams. All night, all night. And let me tell you about these dreams. Well, I was chased by a sausage, riding in a car. I almost drowned inside a peanut butter jar. Had a falling out with a girl made of beef. Caught wearing nothing in the produce aisle but a leaf. Yes, I had so many, many dreams. Very, very bad dreams. All night, all night, all night, bad dreams. Bad dreams, bad dreams, bad dreams, bad dreams. Very, very bad dreams. All night, all night. All night, bad dreams. Good job. That was you kept the. Some of you guys had you had the flow going there. It was good. Only had a couple of people in there being a little naughty. He's gonna sing it. I know he's gonna sing it. He's gonna sing it. He's gonna sing that weird thing. I'm faster than you are. My IQ is like 3,000. So fast. You can't get me. Well, occasionally you can get me. But don't try anymore because it'll shatter my self-image as a super genius, okay? Oh my gosh. Lisa says, I think this is the hardest I've laughed all COVID year. It was a bad year. We need this. It was all a bad dream. Oh my gosh. Some people are still locked in their houses. There's 5 masks on watching CNN. I can't go on. Everybody's... We're all going to die. Oh, I felt like that. I know that. I just couldn't stay in panic mode that long. Like, I finally get to a point where, like, I'll just die. I'll just go ahead and die. I can't deal with it. I have to go see a human. Elba Jaloco, thank you very much for the bad dreams super chat. And thank you, Von Reese, for the super chat. Oh my gosh. Much appreciated. Hey, Fishes Loves Live, you bought an extra large compost tea to one day make a video in. Do it. You could say, this was the shirt I wore back when I was heavy. See, I actually, you know what? I've got this really cool shirt on today. I'll show you my shirt. Can you see this? Stonks to the moon. Oh, yeah. Well, this was fun. This is crazy. We almost hit 2 hours, folks. Unbelievable. I should find that shirt and put the link. It's a friend of mine. I'll see if I can find it. I bought it and I was like, this is hilarious. Stonks. Like I don't know, my generation. We look at a lot of us, we just look at the whole stock market and say it's just a casino. And I gotta find it. Where is it? I gotta see if I can find a link. There we go. I will drop a link here. GME to the moon. Diamond hands. Hey, it's nice to see you, Haley. Stacey says I'm better than Friday Night TV, but I mean that's not saying much. I mean, getting hit on the head with a hammer is usually better than Friday Night TV. You got your Bill Gates chip. That's funny. So hey, Melanie. Karen says I'm a hermit. COVID didn't cramp my style. Yeah, it was like paradise for introverts. Finally, they'll leave me alone. Finally. Jason says I'm not locked in. It's just that everything I need is here. Yes, you have a nice wife. You have a nice garden. I did enjoy sitting around at night in the jungle with my family, reading through the book of Revelation. My kids are reading the complete works of H.P. Lovecraft to each other as civilization collapses. Social distancing since 1973. That's good. That's funny. Yeah, crash landed. Don't worry, there'll be another rocket. There's always another rocket. I mean, most of the time I enjoy just being in the garden and I enjoy being around my family. If I'm around people too much, I start to burn out. But it's because it feels like I have to be in just like I can't disappear into my own head when I'm around people. Whereas when I'm in my garden, I can just think whatever I want to. But when I'm around people, I have to remember. I remember my words, you know. Yeah, I definitely enjoy my wife's company. I mean, my wife is better looking now than when I married her. And she was good looking then. She just gets better like fine wine. Buy the dip. Oh, you guys. Thank you very much for the super chat, Haley. It's always been a casino. Always has been. Yep. I understand. It's just that the casino was better covered when I was younger than it is now. Oh no, Christopher, that's tough. Just locked up in my house with my demented grandmother every day as usual. Been quarantined for 4 years. You know, that sounds like a great time to write a novel. So, Lisa says, this was so much fun. Instead of a super chat, I'm going to buy a book. Yeah, there's links to my books below this if you're interested in buying my books. That's what I like doing is writing gardening books. So I've been a little slack on it this last year. I only wrote 1. I wrote 2, but they're not both out. Should I get backyard nursery first since I'm so poor but very good at plants? Look, if you're poor, Lisa, send me an email and I will send it to you. Don't if you're poor, don't worry about it. But if you want to buy a book, yeah, I mean, it is useful for the backyard nursery. Start your own backyard nursery is basically my nursery experiences and how I managed to run a nursery like a total cheapskate on a shoestring. And I will probably do it again. I just have to figure out how to deal with the nursery licenses and stuff in Alabama. So Best not to associate your wife with wine. Yeah. I'm drunk with love. No, oh, the other kind of wine. No. No. Am I in the doghouse? Are you kidding? With how good looking I am? I am never in the doghouse. I don't have to dig my way out. I can just straight up say that my wife is awesome and pretty without having to dig out of anything. What are you going to do? Besides, she actually thinks she has the time to listen to my streams. No. Oh, you're a socialist. Okay, then please go pay for a book. That's funny. Sean says, is that a sock on your mic? Yes, it is. Oh, Ed. All right, Ed just bought your book, Lisa, so drop me an email. David at FloridaFoodForests.com. Ed's going to out-generous me, and I'll send it to you. Rosehaven Farm says, we were going to start our nursery business last year, then COVID. Yeah. Monique says, I like the option of buying physical books in case the interweb ever goes kaput. I used to Kindle all my garden books. Are physical, though. Yeah, I absolutely buy my garden books in physical copies, all of them. So. Oh, I bet it is, Carolyn. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just read the kids' books if the power goes out. You got to grow some plants that produce burnable oils. That would be good. Then you'll have the oil for the lamps in the house, you know, like put in some. If you're down south, you can grow coconuts. If you're further north, you can grow olives. If you're really far north, keep bees, I guess. Wax. Yeah, definitely hard copy all essential books. I have the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, just in case, you know, the lights go out and I need something to read. Sean says, hey, David, what advice would you give to someone looking for a wife with the same class and quality that your wife has? There are plenty of great girls out there, but I recommend going to church, being in a good church, not just hunting randomly, but finding a good solid church and trying, you know, homeschool girls are the best. If you can find a homeschool girl from a nice family who loves her parents and who is maybe been raised on a farm, that kind of thing, that's where you find good mates. And that goes for the girls too. You can find a guy that's raised on a farm, who's got a good head on his shoulders, was not too heavily exposed to rough stuff when he was young. So you know, grew up in a good, solid family. If you can look at parents that are good, often the kids are pretty decent. But I would also pray. Just pray. And also get somewhat fit. If you're fit, you look like you've got yourself together better than if you're not fit. Also buy a Porsche. Yes, buy a cowboy hat. Yeah, she has 9 children to take care of. She doesn't have time to listen to your live stream or put me in the doghouse. Not like there's anything to put me in there for. I'm sure there are things. Everybody gets to be annoying if you have to live with them every day. There's always going to be a time. U.S. Army Survival Manual is a fantastic book worthy of being a hard copy. Yes, I agree. I have a copy. My kids read it. There's also one on improvised weapons that I don't think they print anymore. That's hilariously dangerous. Well, the Porsche doesn't have to run. You just have to put it on really nice blocks. So, you guys, thank you very much for a wonderful evening. Thank you for all the generosity and the super chats. It's nice to play music for tips. I wanted to I wanted to be a rock star when I was younger, and I would always write these ridiculous songs. And now you guys can suffer through my music. And some of you actually enjoy it because you're messed up people, you good gardeners. And I love you all. So I want to say thank you to the members. Welcome to Jennifer Rosehaven, Farm Texas Farmer, Shaki Jacques. That is really fun to say, incidentally. And I want to thank Karen for the super chat. Thank you, Ajax, for the very generous set of super chats there. Unbelievable. I appreciate it. He said he saved all the money on growing vegetables and sent it my way. That's amazing. And Alba Jaloco, thank you. Carolyn Smith, thank you. Joe Serrano, Tina Von Rees, and Haley. I appreciate you guys. Thank you all for the super chats. It's really kind of fun. And thank you, Ed, for buying a book. So make sure you email me, Lisa, you poor socialist you. Look, she said she was a socialist and she said she was poor. I'm not being insulting. I just like to identify people how they identify themselves. It's okay. So, all right. Have a great night, everybody. God bless you all and have a wonderful weekend. The tomato project that I was going to release today had some issues with the copywriting. Even though I paid for the music that's in it, YouTube stopped it for copyright issues before I had even published it. So their algorithms just don't like it. And in order to deal with that, you've got to contest it and then prove you own it, and they can hold it up for weeks or months, and I don't want to do that because it's tomato growing season. So instead, I'm going to record the entire soundtrack tomorrow morning and put my own soundtrack on it. By golly. So you guys are very inspiring. Anyhow, it'll be fun. It gives me an excuse to bust the guitar and the synthesizer out and play some piano, and my son and I will record it. And then I'll overdub it, and then sometime probably middle of next week, Lord willing, it will be out. So have a great rest of the night, everybody. Yeah, thank you, Alan. It's good to see you all. God bless you all. Thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, may your thumbs always be green.